We are preparing to strike these companies in a way they've never seen before.
He's coming in and saying, well, they've never seen anything like it. I think there's a nuclear option on the table if he's not careful. And that nuclear option is a country called Mexico. But Puebla's got a 55,000 person factory for VW. And they got a good educational workforce. It's $5 an hour. No real pollution control rules. That's not to be mentioned. Have free health care. So you know what? You want to play ball? You want to keep doing this? Mexico.
Glad to see you're standing up for the American worker here, Jim. Thanks for that.
Hard to imagine Jim Cramer hate anything or anyone more than the American worker. That was CNBC's Cramer essentially responding to an impending auto worker strike as a result of a contract expiring and the big three essentially, not meeting the demands of the unionized workers. Now the big three include Ford, GM, and Stellantis. And it's amazing to me that Cramer's like, yeah, these companies should just sell out the American worker to Mexico. Cheap labor, wouldn't it be so much better, especially for the bottom line for these companies? Maximize their profits, return, higher returns on investment to shareholders. It'd be great. Yeah. Now, I want to give you guys an update on where the negotiations stand in a minute. But Cenk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a great mask off moment. Like that CEO the other day saying we should make the workers suffer and we should drive up unemployment so they know their role. Okay, and this is corporate media saying, well, our allegiance is to corporations. It's not to our viewers, it's not to the American people. The average citizen, they despise. They openly despise you. CNBC is arguably more conservative than Fox News.
Totally.
Yeah, on economic issues, it's not even that close. So, and Fox News is crazy conservative on economic issues, but CNBC still goes further right wing than they do. Because the whole corporate media, both what we call mainstream media, the MSNBCs, the CNNs of the world, and right-wing media, the Fox Newses, et cetera, of the world, they're under the same umbrella of corporate media. They're giant multi-billion-dollar corporations. Their number one clients are all multi-billion-dollar giant corporations, and they serve those people. That's literally how they make money. And then they insult you to your face. They insult your intelligence by saying, no, we don't care about our profits. We don't care about our advertisers. We're just being honest and looking out for you. It's a joke. And Jim Cramer now, is admitting accidentally that it's always been a joke. They're for the CEOs, they're for the owners, they're for the shareholders. They are not for the average American worker. They despise the average American worker. Look at that threat he does to you. We don't need you. We'll find cheaper labor, which is always better than you anyway. That's the kind of disgusting crap that corporate media has been doing our whole lives. And by the way, I'm furious at the Democratic Party for not giving a left-wing alternative to that. All we have is populist, fake populist clowns on the right wing who say, oh yeah, isn't that terrible what CNBC is doing? Hey, you know what? Trump's got a great new idea, lower corporate taxes.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so look, I actually disagree with you a little bit, okay? Because yes, I agree that most members of corporate media will either engage in half-truths or they'll just flat out lie. But Jim Cramer, to his credit, is very honest. His mask is always off, okay? He absolutely despises Shawn Fain, who is the head of the United Auto Workers. Can't stand the guy. This isn't the first time he's attacked him. But let's get back to where the negotiations stand. Now, if the big three fail to reach deals with the United Auto Workers before 11:59 p.m. tonight, the union's contracts will in fact expire and the workers will likely be going on strike. Now, there are some other potential options. We'll get to that in a moment, but here's where the negotiations stand as we speak. So the UAW is demanding a 20% immediate raise as well as an additional raise of 5% over every year over the next 4 years. So in total, the UAW is asking for approximately a 36% raise over the life of that contract. Now, according to the president of the union, Shawn Fain, all the automakers had boosted the amount they were offering to raise wages, with Ford now offering 20% or a 20% raise during the life of the contract, GM offering 18%, and Stellantis offering 17.5%. But it would just be a one-time raise of that amount without the additional increase per year, the 5% increase per year that they're asking for. But even Ford, who's now offering the highest wage increase of 20%, is only proposing about half of what the union wants. It's worth noting that the union's demands go further than just pay increases. And by the way, their demands aren't just arbitrary. It's based on how much profit the big three have brought in, especially in recent years. So the big three have made about $21 billion, not in revenue, in profits in just the first 6 months of this year. Okay, so the idea that, they're barely hanging on and increasing the pay of the very individuals who are generating the revenue and the profits for the company is a ridiculous argument to make. Now, the big three CEOs also have, on average, received a 40% pay raise over the last 4 years. And here's what each of them made in 2021 specifically. I'm sure they're making more now, but just a few years ago, GM CEO Mary Barra made over $29 million. Ford CEO James Farley made almost $23 million. Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares made about $21 million. And so auto worker pay, meanwhile, only went up 6% during that same 4-year period, which is actually a net loss when you take inflation into consideration. Since 2003, auto workers have seen their average hourly wage decline by a whopping 30% due to the stagnant wages and inflation. Now, so what is the UAW also pushing for in these negotiations? They want the end of this tier system where newer hires are not protected with the same benefits and the same pay that more senior employees get. The return of retiree medical benefits. They'd like more paid time off and the restoration of pensions. And according to UAW worker who spoke to the BBC, the demands are justified. So this person says, in my opinion, we are owed this, said Paul Raxka, who works in a Stellantis factory in Michigan making Jeep Grand Cherokees, the 4th generation in his family to work in the industry. He said such jobs, which came with good healthcare and secure pensions, had provided an awesome living for his parents, a way of life that no longer feels possible today. He says that he can't even afford the vehicles that he's helping to manufacture, which I think a lot of people can relate to. I mean, think about all the workers in this country who can't afford to buy a home or a condo or a townhouse, a place to live, even rent a place to live in the very towns or cities that they're working in. I mean, it is a very common issue right now. And he also says we're still sitting on the back burner while these CEOs are making, upwards of $20 million a year. We're going to the grocery store saying, well, what do we really need this week? Basically nickel and diming themselves because they don't have the resources to just buy groceries for their families as a result of these stagnant wages.
So look, I can't, first of all, I want to actually mention, in the car industry in particular, Henry Ford is legendary for having said that he wants to pay his workers well enough so that they could buy his cars. So for now that we're in such an awful situation with the new robber barons that run this country, that we've fallen below the Henry Ford standard is an indictment of us as a society. So now into the specifics of this contract negotiations, it's impossible for me to tell what's quote unquote fair in this case. So there's so much details to it. But to me, the bottom line is very simple. You can't say that you made $250 billion. I mean, that is so much money. It's hard for the mind to fathom it. It's a mountain of money. $250 billion in profits in the last 10 years. And then say, I can't afford to pay my workers a decent wage. No, you're saying, I can afford it. I can afford it easily. I'm just choosing not to pay them a decent wage. I'm choosing to make them suffer because I want to make an extra couple of bucks off of them. And so these giant multi-billion-dollar corporations that continue to pulverize the American worker are are what's driving this country crazy to begin with. So that's why the right wing is so mad, and then they get misdirected in terrible directions when, and of course the Democratic Party and the core of the Republican Party, the establishment of both parties, love the corporations, serve the corporations, and they're not gonna help these workers. The Republicans hate the workers. They're not gonna help them 1%. And then Joe Biden is supposed to be the big labor guy. What's he gonna do? I don't know. I haven't seen him offer any encouraging words to the potentially striking workers yet. And then finally, of course, back to the media, because we started with that clip. Dylan Ratigan used to be at CNBC, started their 2 most popular shows. During the 2008 crash, he started saying on air that it was the bankers' fault, because it was unquestionably the bankers' fault. CNBC pulled him from the air not because he was incorrect, but because he was correct. And they didn't want those bankers being blamed when they were a huge advertiser on CNBC. So these guys that are on television almost all serve corporate interests. They don't serve your interest at all, just so you know. And by the way, just so you know, not just if you're a Republican, but also if you're a Democrat.
Yes.
The Democrats oftentimes believe the pretty little lies about these wonderful people at the cable stations and New York Times and the wonderful Democratic politicians. They're all angels. No, they get their money from these same exact corporate interests, and they use the same exact framing as the Republicans do.
Finally, what's likely going to happen, we don't know for sure. So for instance, since we're quickly approaching the expiration of their contract, they could literally go on strike tomorrow. They could agree to an extension of the contract and continue negotiating. And if they do go on strike, the car industry is different from the rail workers and their potential strike, which of course was squashed by Congress. So what they could do is essentially have some of the workers picket while others are still working. So thanks to the nature of the auto industry, they can picket a few select factories and snarl the whole supply chain. One engine or transmission location per company might be enough to shut down nearly 3/4 of the US assembly plants, said Jeff Schuster, global head of automotive for Global Data, an industry consultant. 2 plants per company. You can pretty much idle North America, he said. So that maneuver could help the unions essentially save some of the resources in their strike funds. Some of the workers can continue working as some are picketing. And even if the big 3 start shutting down some of the plants that are not on strike, then the workers at those plants could be eligible for unemployment benefits as a result of that. So we'll see how this all plays out. But again, that deadline is quickly approaching.
My last point is, if this winds up hurting the economy or raising your prices anyway, make sure that you're furious at the greedy sons of bitches that thought $250 billion in profits wasn't enough, and they had to crush their workers more to make what, $251 billion in profits? Do not blame the workers, blame the guys who are swimming in billions of dollars in profits and will not share it.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. We really appreciate it, guys. And we appreciate it if you become members, because that allows us to be independent, honest, progressive, all the things that you don't get from corporate media. And all of that is because of you guys. Hit the join button below and become one of us, become a Young Turk.